In this video, we'll be making a toilet paper cake with some poop emoji cupcakes. I started with making 6-inch cakes. I made 2 chocolate with 1 vanilla. After the cakes were finished baking and cooling, I leveled them out so they would be flat against each other when I stacked them. Started with putting some buttercream onto the cake board to hold it so it wasn't moving while I was trying to decorate. Put the first cake down. I alternated chocolate, vanilla, chocolate. Starting with filling this cake with some buttercream. Just smoothing that out so I can put the second cake on. Adding the second cake, which is the vanilla cake, and putting on that center buttercream for stacking. And now I'm going to add that third cake, the chocolate cake. This is going to serve as my toilet paper roll. And now I'm going to do the crumb coat for the entire cake. I noticed here that my bottom layer was starting to crack a little bit, so I ended up, after I did the initial crumb coat, I ended up flipping this over and having that bottom weaker cake on the top so that it was a more stable cake. I'm doing a pretty smooth job here. It doesn't have to be perfect because it will be covered with fondant. Now I'm doing the actual icing layer of the cake, the one that will be on top underneath the fondant. Now that I'm finished with adding the icing, I am making my toilet paper roll, the pieces of toilet paper that will go on the outside out of fondant. So I'm rolling this out, and I measured this, and I'm just going to cut out one long piece that I will wrap around the entire cake with some excess. So I'm going to just even up the sides with measured distance apart so that it's even through the whole cake. Now that I have that done, I'm going to use this imprint, a fondant imprint, and I'm going to use it, press it against the fondant, and that's going to give us what looks like the pattern on the toilet paper roll. I'm just pressing that on so that the entire outside piece will look like a roll of toilet paper. You can't really tell here, but you'll be able to tell in the final pictures what that looks like. And where it did not do a good impression, I just went back over and just pressed it in again to get a more firm form imprint. And I rolled this around the end of a spatula to make this easier for me to place it onto the cake. That really made it easier, so I would encourage you, if you're trying to do this, to also do that as well. I'm going to wrap this around the cake, and I wanted some excess so that it goes around the entire cake with some additional, so that it looks like there is a piece of toilet paper kind of coming off of the roll. I'm going to use a little bit of water and also some piping gel to hold this together in different areas, just to secure up this fondant so it stays put. After I had this secured, I did turn this around so that that piece of what looks like toilet paper falling off of the roll, so that that's facing towards the front of where my cake will be. I want that to be where there's more cake board. And I used a lid and I cut out a circle out of fondant to put over top of this. I wanted it to be smaller so that what was wrapped around the sides of it would come up above the piece that I'm putting on top. That's so that it looks like it's actually a roll of toilet paper. Now I'm using a fondant tool and I'm just making lines to make it look like there are sheets of paper. So I'm doing circles across the entire top of this cake. It's lots and lots of lines to make it look like there are sheets of paper here. I'm using a fondant smoother just to smooth that out, to make it smooth the whole way around, especially pushing down at the bottom to get any excess fondant pushed out so I can tuck it underneath the roll. Now I'm using this fondant tool and I'm just kind of drawing some lines down to make it look like the individual sheets of toilet paper. And again, use that fondant, the fondant smoother to smooth that out. I am pulling any excess icing or cake pieces or fondant out from underneath the edge to make it a cleaner edge. And I push that underneath a bit to better clean up that bottom. I'm taking an X-Acto knife and I'm cutting out a circle to look like that tube that goes down through the center of a roll of toilet paper. And I'm going to use a spoon and pull some of the cake out from inside of that so that I can create this piece of fondant, and I'm going to put that inside so that that shows when you look at this cake. like a real piece of toilet paper. I also made a small black kind of cap that I'm pushing down so that if anyone looks down in, it looks dark inside of there. It was a little too big, so I had to trim it down a bit. Then I used my fingers to clean up those edges to make it more round, where my cuts were less than round. There, I'm just pushing it down so that it looks like that, like dark inside. I'm creating with that same color, I created a larger, like a full-size tube that I'm going to have on the side of the cake board. Now I am beginning the process of making my poop emoji cupcakes. I'm making the eyes. I'm making some oval-shaped white pieces for the eyes, and I'm going to make some smaller black ovals that I'm going to attach using some piping gel onto the whites of his eyes. Here I'm using that piping gel to attach the pupils to the whites of the eyes. I cut out a white circle and I kind of made it more oval shaped, and then I cut off the tips of the top and the bottom of that oval for the mouth of my poop emojis. There's one mouth and there's the other mouth. So now I'm using some chocolate icing, and I am just kind of using a round tip and made my first poop emoji. And now I'm going to attach his mouth using some piping gel. I picked the side that I thought looked the nicest. And now I'm attaching his eyes. And there is my first poop emoji cupcake, which you couldn't see in that frame. I apologize about that. And now I'm doing my second poop emoji, and I'm adding the mouth just like I did for the first one. And I'm going to add his eyes as well. And there's my second poop emoji. I place that onto the board. Now you'll see that I'm adding some ripped up pieces of toilet paper onto this tube. You'll see that I have some paper towels inside of this fondant roll, and that is just to help maintain its shape a bit. I'm adding some little pieces of what is supposed to be toilet paper, because when you finish a roll, there's always those like extra pieces that are left over. And now I'm making a frame that I'm going to write a little message that's going to say, "Holy shit, you're 50." So I have a white background, and I'm making this frame, and then inside of it I'll use an edible marker to write that small message. And then once I get these pieces of this fondant frame built together, I will use my bench scraper to cut off the excess of the back of that. Here I am writing that message. I did write it once and it didn't turn out so great, so I redid the backing and it looked better the second time. And cut off the corners of that frame as well. And I'm just going to use some piping gel and I'm going to place that right on the cake board in front of the roll of toilet paper. Also going to use some piping gel underneath each one of our cupcakes to attach them also to the board. And then lastly, I have done the same thing for the empty toilet paper roll. And this is what the final cake looks like. If you enjoyed this video, I would encourage you to come back and watch other content as I put it onto my channel. And I would encourage you to like, comment, and share. Thank you so much for joining me. It really helps to get some engagement on the channel.